How do you make your enemies fear you without raising your voice, without threats, without saying a single word? Real power isn't loud. It's a silent force that makes others hesitate, doubt, and fear what they can't predict. It's like standing in front of a wild predator. It doesn't snarl, it doesn't lunge, it just watches. Still, silent, calculated, and that silence alone is more terrifying than any roar could ever be. Or think of a chess grandmaster staring at the board, his opponent sweating, mind racing, trying to predict his next move, but seeing nothing. That's the power of being unreadable. When people don't know what you're thinking, they fear what you might do next. In this video, we'll break down 7 silent strategies from Stoic philosophy that create an unshakable presence. Master these, and your enemies won't just respect you, they'll fear what you might do next. Let's get started. Number 1. Master your emotions. Let's talk about one of the most powerful ways to gain control and make your enemies fear you, mastering your emotions. It may sound simple, but in reality, it's one of the hardest things to do. When someone pushes your buttons, when they try to get under your skin, the most natural response is to react, whether with anger, frustration, or defensive behavior. But here's the thing. Showing anger or frustration reveals weakness. When you let your emotions control you, you give your enemy the power to unsettle you. They've won the moment they see you lose control. The real strength, the real power, lies in your ability to remain calm and composed, no matter what they throw at you. Nothing unsettles an enemy more than a person they can't provoke. When they try to rile you up, and you just stand there, unaffected, it forces them to question themselves. They don't know how to handle someone who isn't emotionally volatile, someone who isn't easy to manipulate. Your emotional control becomes your weapon, and your calmness becomes the thing they fear the most. This is where Stoic wisdom comes in. Marcus Aurelius said, "The nearer a man comes to a calm mind, the closer he is to strength." Think about that for a moment. Strength doesn't come from the ability to shout, to lash out, or to respond in kind. It comes from the ability to stay calm under pressure, to rise above the chaos around you. Your ability to maintain inner peace in the face of provocation is the ultimate power. Let me share a story. A man I know, let's call him Thomas, once worked with someone who constantly tried to provoke him. They would undermine him, make snide comments, or try to bait him into arguments. At first, Thomas would react, trying to defend himself or prove his point, but he quickly realized something. Every time he reacted, his opponent gained the upper hand. So, Thomas made a decision. He would no longer engage. The next time this person tried to provoke him, Thomas didn't flinch. He didn't argue back. He simply stayed calm, collected, and indifferent. The result? The person who once tried to get under his skin was left frustrated because there was nothing they could do to unsettle him. And the best part? Over time, this individual stopped trying to provoke Thomas altogether. They couldn't get the reaction they wanted, and it made them uncomfortable. So, how do you master your emotions? First, recognize your triggers. Understand what pushes your buttons and why. Once you're aware, you can make a conscious effort not to react. Second, practice deep breathing or mindfulness. In moments of tension, focus on staying calm. This will prevent you from losing control in the heat of the moment. And finally, understand that emotional control is a form of strength, not weakness. When you don't allow your emotions to dictate your actions, you maintain the upper hand. At the end of the day, true strength is not in how loud you can get or how angry you can become. True power comes from mastering yourself. When you remain calm and composed, nothing and no one can touch you. In a world full of noise and chaos, your calmness will be the thing that makes you unstoppable. Number 2, maintain an unshakable presence. Let's talk about the power of maintaining an unshakable presence. There's a kind of confidence that commands attention and respect, but it's not the loud, boastful kind that screams for validation. It's a quiet, powerful confidence, the kind that doesn't need to say a word to be heard. When you walk into a room with this kind of presence, people can feel it. They don't have to hear you speak, but they know you are someone who demands respect. This presence is built on self-assurance, but without the arrogance. Here's the truth. Confidence without arrogance is intimidating. When you know who you are and what you bring to the table, you don't need to constantly prove it to others. You simply are. Your energy, your posture, your movements, they all exude strength, calm, and purpose. The way you carry yourself shows that you're not afraid to take up space in this world. When you stand tall, move deliberately, and occupy your space without hesitation, people around you notice. They start to respect you, not because you demand it, but because they can sense that you don't need to ask for it. Your presence alone is enough. This is where Stoic wisdom comes in. Lao Tzu said, "Silence is a source of great strength." Think about that for a second. Sometimes it's not what you say or do, but the quiet confidence in your presence that speaks volumes. Silence doesn't mean weakness, it means control. It means you're so sure of who you are and what you're about that you don't need to fill the space with unnecessary words or actions. The calm, composed individual who commands a room without raising their voice is the person everyone gravitates toward. That is the true power of maintaining an unshakable presence. Let me share a story. A guy I know, let's call him Ethan, was always quiet in social situations. He wasn't the loudest person in the room, nor did he seek attention, but there was something about him. He had a way of carrying himself that made people respect him immediately. His posture was always straight, his movements deliberate, and his presence never felt forced. People would naturally quiet down when he entered a conversation, not because he said anything, but because they could feel his confidence. Ethan didn't need to shout to be heard. He simply existed in the space with unwavering confidence, and that was enough. So how do you maintain an unshakable presence? First, stand tall. Your posture plays a huge role in how you are perceived. Stand with purpose, shoulders back, head high, and don't slouch. Second, move deliberately. Every action you take should have intention behind it. When you move with purpose, it shows that you are in control of your environment. And finally, embrace silence. Let your presence speak for you. When you stop trying to impress and simply are, people will start to take notice. At the end of the day, true strength doesn't come from words or displays of power. It comes from a quiet confidence that others can't ignore. When you walk into a room, let your unshakable presence speak for itself. Stand tall, control your space, and watch how the world begins to respect you without you having to say a word. Number 3, let your actions speak. Let's talk about something that is often overlooked, letting your actions speak for you. In a world full of words and empty promises, it's easy to get caught up in talking about what you'll do or what you plan to achieve. Everyone has big ideas and grand aspirations, but here's the truth. Words are cheap. What truly matters is what you do, not what you say. Your strength, your value, and your character are revealed through your actions, not your claims. The best way to show who you are is by consistently living out your values, not talking about them. When you focus on action, you stop needing to explain yourself. Your discipline, your resilience, and your pursuit of excellence become the loudest thing in the room. Actions don't need validation. They are their own proof. When you are consistent in your efforts, When you demonstrate your strength through perseverance and focus, the world will start to take notice. They will see the results, not hear the excuses or promises. And the best part, your actions will speak louder than words ever could. People will respect you, not because of what you've said, but because of what you've done. This is where Stoic wisdom comes in. The Stoics believed in the power of action over words. They understood that true character is forged through the consistent practice of discipline and resilience. The more you show up and deliver, the more others will see your true worth. Words can be manipulated, twisted, and forgotten, but your actions are the undeniable proof of who you truly are. Let me share a story. A man I know, let's call him Jack, was always talking about his dreams. He would share his goals with everyone around him and paint a picture of his future success. But for months, he never took real steps toward achieving those goals. Then, one day, he realized something. He wasn't being taken seriously. People were tired of hearing about his plans and weren't impressed by his words. So, Jack made a decision. He would stop talking about what he was going to do and start doing it. Slowly, but surely, he put in the work. He showed up every day, worked with consistency, and proved his dedication. And guess what? People began to notice. His actions began to speak louder than his words ever had, and his success followed. So how do you let your actions speak? First, focus on consistency. Consistent effort in the right direction always leads to progress, no matter how small the steps seem. Second, pursue excellence. Don't just do the bare minimum. Always strive to do your best in everything you do, and your results will reflect that. And third, build resilience. Life will throw obstacles your way, but the more you endure and push through, the more your strength will shine through. At the end of the day, what you do matters far more than what you say. Your actions will always prove your strength, your discipline, and your character. So stop talking about what you'll do. Show it, and let your actions speak for themselves. If you found this valuable, hit like and subscribe for more powerful insights. Number 4, never overreact to insults. Let's talk about one of the most powerful tools you have in controlling your emotions and maintaining your dignity: never overreacting to insults. It's easy to get defensive when someone insults you. The natural reaction is to defend yourself, to retaliate, to prove that what they said is wrong or untrue. But here's the truth. Responding emotionally gives power to your opponent. Every time you react with anger or frustration, you hand over your peace and allow them to control how you feel. They know exactly what buttons to push because you've let them see your weak spots. But here's the secret. Indifference is one of the most powerful responses you can give. When you refuse to overreact, when you show no emotional response to their insult, you take back the power. Your indifference makes them question their own significance. It makes them wonder why their words don't affect you, why they can't provoke a reaction. And in that moment, you have already won. You've taken away their control over your emotions, and that leaves them powerless. The more you stay calm, the more you show that their opinion means nothing to you. The best part, it frustrates them because they can't get the rise they were hoping for. This is where Stoic wisdom comes in. The Stoics taught us that our emotional state is within our control, not dictated by the actions of others. Epictetus, for example, believed that the opinions and actions of others are outside our control, and reacting emotionally only disturbs our peace. It is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. When you learn to master your responses, you maintain your inner peace and stand above the chaos. Let me share a story. A woman I know, let's call her Linda, was constantly insulted by a colleague at work. This person would make sarcastic remarks, undermine her in meetings, and even gossip about her behind her back. At first, Linda would respond emotionally, defending herself or trying to explain. But every time she did, it only made the situation worse. Her colleague became emboldened, and the insults continued. Eventually, Linda realized something. Every time she reacted, she was giving this person control over her emotions. So, she decided to change her approach. The next time an insult came her way, Linda simply remained calm and indifferent. She didn't react. She didn't defend herself. And you know what happened? Her colleague stopped. The power dynamic shifted, and Linda's calmness left the other person questioning their own actions. So how do you avoid overreacting to insults? First, practice self-awareness. When someone insults you, take a moment to breathe and assess the situation. Don't immediately respond. Second, control your emotional response. The moment you allow someone else to trigger you emotionally, you've lost control. And finally, embrace indifference. Not every insult needs a response. In fact, sometimes silence speaks louder than any words could. At the end of the day, the greatest power lies in your ability to remain unaffected by insults. Don't let someone's words dictate your emotions. Respond with indifference and watch how quickly they lose their power over you. Number 5. Control what they know about you. Let's talk about one of the most strategic ways to protect yourself and maintain control over your life. Controlling what others know about you. In a world where people are always observing, analyzing, and trying to figure you out, it's easy to give away more than you should. Whether it's your weaknesses, your goals, or your insecurities, the more predictable you are, the easier it becomes for others to manipulate or undermine you. The secret is to maintain an air of mystery and control the information that people have access to. When others can't predict your next move, they lose their power to affect you. Here's the truth. The less predictable you are, the harder it is for others to manipulate or undermine you. If people know exactly how you'll react, what your triggers are, or what you want, they can use that information to their advantage. But when you control what they know about you, you make it more difficult for anyone to use your own vulnerabilities against you. This doesn't mean you need to be deceptive or dishonest. It means you don't need to share everything with everyone. By keeping some things to yourself, you protect your peace and ensure that no one can manipulate you into making decisions you're not comfortable with. This is where Stoic wisdom comes in. Sun Tzu said, "Appear weak when you are strong, and strong when you are weak." Think about that for a second. True strength lies in being able to control the information you reveal to others. If you are always open and transparent, people will know exactly where to strike. But if you withhold some of your thoughts, plans, and weaknesses, you make it much harder for others to get the upper hand. By being unpredictable, you become a challenge to anyone who might try to manipulate or take advantage of you. Let me share a story. A guy I know, let's call him Chris, was always open with his co-workers about his personal life, his goals, and his struggles. He thought being transparent would build trust, but over time, he realized that his openness had made him vulnerable. His colleagues started taking advantage of the information he shared, using it against him in subtle ways. If he mentioned he was struggling with a project, they'd find a way to use that against him, questioning his abilities or putting more pressure on him. Chris realized that by sharing too much, he had allowed others to undermine him. So, he changed his approach. He stopped revealing everything about himself and instead kept his personal struggles and weaknesses to himself. The result? People started respecting him more because they couldn't predict his every move or reaction. They couldn't use his weaknesses against him anymore. So, how do you control what others know about you? First, be mindful of what you share. Not everyone needs to know your deepest thoughts or insecurities. Second, Embrace mystery. The more unpredictable you are, the less people can use your information against you. And finally, use your strength strategically. Show your strength when it's needed and appear vulnerable when it helps you maintain control. At the end of the day, the less others know about you, the more power you have over them. Protect your inner world. Keep some things to yourself, and watch how much harder it becomes for anyone to manipulate or undermine you. Control your narrative and remain unpredictable, because true strength lies in mystery. If you've watched the video this far, don't forget to leave a comment with a thank God and give it a like if you enjoyed the content. Your support means a lot and motivates me to keep creating more interesting videos. I hope you find inspiration in them and that we continue learning together. Thank you for your support. Number 6. Make power moves in silence. Let's talk about one of the most strategic ways to protect your success: making power moves in silence. In a world where everyone is quick to announce their plans, their goals, and their next big move, there's something incredibly powerful about keeping your ambitions private. When you share your next steps, you're giving others a chance to interfere, criticize, or even sabotage your progress. But when you work in silence, your actions speak louder than words, and your results are your true testament. Here's the truth. Announcing your next step gives others a chance to stop you. The more you talk about what you're going to do, the more you invite opinions, judgments, and unnecessary distractions. People may try to offer advice, doubt your abilities, or even act as roadblocks, intentionally or unintentionally. By keeping your ambitions to yourself, you take away their power to influence your path. You become a force that is hard to stop, because no one knows what you're doing until the results are undeniable. The less noise you make, the more progress you can make without anyone trying to disrupt your flow. This is where Stoic wisdom comes in. Epictetus said, "Do not explain your philosophy, embody it." In other words, your actions should be the evidence of who you are and what you stand for. You don't need to explain or justify your journey. Let your results do the talking. The more you embody your vision through action, the less you need to say. People will see your commitment, your discipline, and your resilience in your progress. And when they see the results, they'll understand exactly who you are and what you're capable of. Let me share a story. A woman I know, let's call her Emma, was always the type to announce her goals and talk about what she was planning to do. She'd share every idea, every step, and every new plan with friends and colleagues. At first, it felt exciting to share her vision, but over time, she realized something. The more she talked about what she was going to do, the more obstacles popped up. People would doubt her, give unsolicited advice, or even question her choices. It didn't help that her confidence started to waver as she heard the opinions of others. So, Emma decided to change her approach. She stopped announcing her next steps. Instead, she kept her goals private and focused solely on her work. She let her actions speak for themselves. As a result, when she achieved her goals, no one could argue with the success she had quietly built. So, how do you make power moves in silence? First, keep your plans to yourself. Announcing your next step invites unnecessary distractions. Let the results speak for themselves. Second, stay focused. Stop talking about what you're going to do and focus on what you're actually doing. And finally, let your results be your proof. People will see your dedication, your progress, and your success without you having to say a word. At the end of the day, true power comes from what you do, not what you say. By making power moves in silence and letting your results speak for you, you show the world your strength without ever needing to explain it. Keep your ambitions private and watch how your success becomes the loudest statement you can make. Number 7. Be unapologetically yourself. Let's talk about one of the most liberating things you can do for yourself: being unapologetically yourself. In a world where people are constantly trying to fit in, blend in, and seek approval from others, there's something incredibly powerful about standing your ground and embracing who you truly are. When you stop seeking validation and stop pretending to be something you're not, you start to gain a level of respect and admiration that others can't even begin to comprehend. People fear those who don't seek approval. Here's the truth. When you stop trying to fit in, you become untouchable. When you embrace your authenticity and stop worrying about what others think of you, you shift the power dynamic. You no longer seek to please or impress anyone, and that, in itself, makes you stand out. The people who truly matter will appreciate you for your uniqueness, and the ones who can't handle it will fall away. Either way, you win. By being unapologetically yourself, you stop allowing others to define you. You define yourself, and that's where real strength lies. This is where Stoic wisdom comes in. The Stoics believed in embracing one's true nature and acting in accordance with virtue, regardless of others' opinions. They understood that seeking approval from others is a trap that keeps you from achieving true peace and independence. When you stop trying to fit in, you stop being a slave to the opinions of others. Instead, you begin to live in alignment with your own values, and that creates an inner freedom that cannot be shaken. Let me share a story. A man I know, let's call him Jake, was always trying to fit in. He would adjust his behavior to match the people around him, laugh at jokes he didn't find funny, and downplay his achievements just to avoid standing out. But over time, Jake began to feel drained and disconnected. He realized that by constantly seeking approval, he was losing sight of who he really was. So he made a decision. He would stop pretending. He began speaking his mind, standing up for what he believed in, and not caring if others agreed with him. The moment he stopped seeking approval, something incredible happened. People started respecting him more. They admired his authenticity, his confidence, and his willingness to stand firm in his beliefs. And the best part? Jake no longer had to hide behind a mask to feel accepted. So how do you become unapologetically yourself? First, stop seeking validation from others. You don't need anyone's approval to be who you are. Second, embrace your uniqueness. The things that make you different are your greatest strengths. Don't be afraid to let them shine. And finally, live by your own standards, not by the standards set by others. When you start living authentically, your life will become a reflection of your true self, and nothing will hold you back. At the end of the day, when you stop trying to fit in, you stop being limited by others' expectations. Be unapologetically yourself, and you'll become untouchable, not because you're trying to impress, but because you've learned to live in your own power. Own who you are, and watch how the world begins to respect you for it.